The great chamber of the Galactic Council was a place of silence and power. It was said that the voices inside could shape the fate of entire worlds. Delegates from hundreds of species gathered there, each believing they were wise, advanced, and superior in their own way. But that day the chamber was restless, for standing in the center on the speaking platform was a human delegate, and his words carried a weight that made even the air seem heavy. The human did not shout. He did not beg. His voice was calm, but each sentence struck like a warning bell. "We do not want war," he said slowly. "But if you push us, if you provoke us, if you try to take from us, you will regret it. Humanity will not kneel. Humanity will not break." The other species exchanged glances. Some chuckled. Others rolled their eyes. A few looked uneasy, remembering past encounters with humans, encounters that had not gone as planned. But most in that chamber believed the same thing. Humans were young, reckless, and fragile compared to the great civilizations of the galaxy. What could Earth possibly do against empires that had existed for thousands of years? The council speaker, an ancient being with skin like stone, leaned forward. "Human delegate," it said. "Are you threatening the galaxy?" The man shook his head. His expression remained calm. "No, we are warning you. Do not provoke us. Leave us in peace." The words echoed through the chamber, and then came the yar. Laughter, deep, mocking laughter from the delegates of the powerful empires. They whispered among themselves, calling humans dramatic, calling them foolish, calling them children who did not know their place. But not everyone laughed. In the corner of the chamber, a few silent figures watched carefully. These were species who had seen humans up close, who had fought against them in border skirmishes, who had studied Earth's history. They knew what the others did not. They knew humans had a pattern. Humans endured, humans adapted, and when pushed too far, humans struck back with a fury that left scars for generations. Still, the warnings were dismissed. Reports from the human colonies about alien raids were ignored. Complaints about stolen trade routes were buried under politics. And when a small group of empires formed a coalition to discipline Earth, the Council allowed it. After all, the galaxy thought humans needed to be shown their place. The human delegate gave one last speech before leaving the chamber. His eyes scanned the room, meeting the gaze of every species present, and with a calm, steady voice, he said, "You think we are weak. You think we are small. But remember this. Humans do not forget. Humans do not forgive. And when the day comes, when you finally understand what we are, it will be too late." Silence fell. No laughter followed this time. Some felt a chill run through them, though they could not explain why. Others waved it away, pretending the words meant nothing. But the seed of unease had been planted. After the human left, the council broke into arguments. Some shouted that Earth was a threat that must be contained. Others said humans were nothing to fear, a minor species with loud words but little strength. The debate went on for hours, but in the end, the decision was made. The warnings would be ignored. Far across the stars, fleets were already moving. Alien warships gathered at the edges of human space, their commanders confident that the campaign would be easy. They spoke of conquest, of resources, of glory. They believed Earth would kneel in weeks, and they believed the Council would thank them for silencing the noisy humans. But deep inside the minds of a few, doubts remained. One old council member remembered something strange he had once read in Earth's history. He remembered tales of ancient wars when humans had faced impossible odds and still survived. He remembered reading of cities burned to ashes, yet rebuilt stronger. He remembered that humans had a strange way of turning weakness into strength. He tried to speak, tried to remind the chamber of those lessons, but his words were drowned in noise. The empires were too eager, too certain, too arrogant. They believed they knew the truth of humanity, but they were wrong. In that moment, the fate of the galaxy shifted, By ignoring the warnings, by dismissing the words of one calm human, they had set events in motion that could not be undone. The council chamber returned to silence, unaware that history would remember this day as the day the galaxy sealed its own doom. And somewhere far away on Earth, humans prepared quietly. They did not shout. They did not make threats. They simply waited. And when the time came, the galaxy would understand the meaning of those words. Do not provoke us. The first raids came quietly, like shadows in the night. Alien fleets slipped into human territory, their commanders full of confidence and pride. They targeted outlying colonies, small distant worlds far from Earth. To the empires, these were nothing more than fragile settlements waiting to be claimed. They believed the humans would cry, complain, and then surrender. On the colony world of Hallstrom, the first attack fell. Alien warships broke through the skies, their weapons raining fire upon cities and farms. The people of Hallstrom fought back, with everything they had: small defense fleets, ground troops, and civilian volunteers. But against the alien armada, their resistance was crushed within days. The survivors were chained and paraded as proof of the Coalition's strength. The Coalition leaders sent a message to the Galactic Council. The human frontier is ours. They are too weak to resist. The chamber filled with applause. Some delegates laughed and congratulated the invaders, saying the humans would now understand their place. The Council's earlier warnings seemed ridiculous in that moment, nothing more than empty words from a desperate species. But not everyone joined the celebration. A few delegates sat silent, their eyes heavy with worry. They had seen something troubling in the reports. Despite overwhelming force, the humans of Hallstrom had fought fiercely. Even when defeat was certain, they had refused to surrender. They fought until their weapons broke, until their defenses fell, until they were dragged away in chains. That kind of defiance was not normal. It was dangerous. Still, the Coalition pushed further. More colonies were attacked, more settlements destroyed. Each time, humans fought back with everything they had. Farmers picked up rifles. Children carried messages through burning streets. Pilots rammed their damaged ships into enemy cruisers, taking enemies down with them. The aliens called it foolishness. They laughed at the waste of life. But slowly, quietly, fear began to spread among the lower soldiers. They whispered that humans were not like others. In the council chamber, the human delegate returned only once. His face was cold, his words sharper than before. You let this happen. You ignored the warning. You think we are weak, but you will see the truth soon. The chamber erupted with voices mocking him. One alien lord stood and sneered. The truth is already clear. Humanity is nothing. The human's eyes lingered on him for a moment, and then he left without another word. That silence unsettled even those who mocked him. Meanwhile, Earth remained still. The heart of humanity gave no reply, no message of surrender, no desperate plea for peace. The silence itself became a weapon, feeding unease into the galaxy. The empires expected panic, yet what they saw was only quiet preparation. Human fleets stopped moving, borders sealed, colonies pulled back behind defenses, and still no one understood what it meant. The Coalition interpreted the silence as fear. They told themselves Earth was breaking, that humanity was too shocked to fight back. They mistook patience for weakness, and in their arrogance, they marched deeper, hungry for more. On the world of Lorien, something unusual happened. As the alien fleet approached, human settlers evacuated in perfect order. They left behind traps, mines hidden in space, ambush ships cloaked in darkness. The invaders laughed at the resistance, but many of their ships never returned. Rumors spread quickly. The humans are planning something. Commanders dismissed the rumors. They said it was impossible. A young species like humanity could never match the ancient powers of the galaxy. Their victories at Hallstrom and others blinded them to the truth. They believed strength was measured only in numbers, in ships, in weapons. They did not see that. Humanity's greatest weapon was something else entirely: patience, memory, and the will to survive. The spark of arrogance burned brighter with each conquest. The coalition leaders toasted to their victories. They saw themselves as heroes, conquerors, who would be remembered for breaking humanity. They promised their people that Earth itself would soon kneel before them. But the Galaxy Council sat uneasily. Some remembered the words of the human delegate. Some remembered the long silence. And a few whispered what no one dared say aloud. What if humanity is waiting? In the shadows, Earth's preparations grew. Fleets were being built in secret shipyards. Weapons never before seen were being tested. Humanity did not announce its strength. It did not show its hand. It simply waited. And in that waiting, a storm began to gather. Silent, invisible, unstoppable. The coalition believed they were breaking humanity. But in truth, they were only feeding the fire. The spark of arrogance had been lit. Soon the galaxy would learn how dangerous it was to underestimate the humans. The galaxy had expected noise, loud protests, desperate pleas, even cries for help. That was how weaker species reacted when empires pressed against them. But after the raids, after the burned colonies and broken fleets, humanity did not scream. Humanity went quiet. This silence unsettled the galaxy more than any battle could. Messages from Earth grew rare. Human ambassadors stopped speaking in the council. Trade ships vanished from common routes. It was as if the humans had stepped back into the shadows, watching, waiting. The coalition empires told themselves this was fear. They convinced their people that humanity had finally accepted defeat. But deep down, a few commanders felt something else: dread. Strange reports began to arrive from the frontier. Patrol ships sent into human space failed to return. Fleets that crossed too far found only wreckage drifting in the dark. Ships broken apart by weapons no one could identify. Some wrecks looked burned as if melted from the inside. Others were sliced cleanly in half. And always, there were no survivors. At first, the coalition claimed these were accidents. They said humans were destroying their own ships to make the coalition afraid. But whispers spread through their lower ranks. Soldiers who had fought humans before told old stories. Stories of a species that never gave up, that always found a way to strike back. The silence of humanity was beginning to feel less like surrender, and more like a trap. On the colony of Eridan, alien soldiers celebrated victory in the streets. They mocked the human prisoners, calling them broken and weak. But that night, a strange signal passed through the sky. It was a human transmission, short and cold. Remember this. Within hours, the alien barracks exploded in flames. No one ever discovered how the humans did it. The message was clear. Humanity had not forgotten. The council grew restless. Some members demanded that the coalition stop pushing further, warning that the silence was dangerous. Others shouted that the council must not show weakness, that the humans were already beaten. But every debate ended the same way, with arguments, with pride, and with no decision made. The galaxy was too blind to see the storm rising in front of them. Meanwhile on Earth, preparations continued in secret. Vast shipyards worked without pause. Entire planets were turned into forges, building weapons hidden from the galaxy's eyes. Scientists whispered about new engines, new armor, new weapons that bent the rules of physics. But no announcement was made. No threat was given. Humanity remained silent, and that silence became a weapon sharper than any blade. The coalition, still blind in arrogance, pushed deeper. They seized more human worlds. Yet the farther they went, the stranger the resistance became. Human colonies did not fight like others. They used traps, ambushes, sabotage. A single human freighter would lure fleets into minefields. Small fighters disappeared into asteroid belts, striking only when least expected. Even when defeated, human soldiers left behind poisoned water, broken machines, and collapsed tunnels. Nothing was surrendered whole. Every victory felt hollow, and every step forward cost more than expected. One commander of the coalition wrote in his report, It is like fighting shadows. We win every battle, but it feels as if we are losing the war. Still, the leaders ignored such words. They believed only in numbers, in fleets, in arrogance. They had not yet learned the truth. That silence is not weakness. Silence can be the sound of teeth sharpening in the dark. Then came the disappearances. Entire alien fleets, 30 or 40 ships strong, entered human space and were never seen again. No distress calls, no survivors. Just silence. The coalition tried to hide the truth, but rumors spread faster than fire. Soldiers spoke of ghost fleets. Civilians whispered of human monsters. Even the council chambers grew tense whenever the subject arose. One delegate finally stood and said what others feared to admit. This is not surrender. This is preparation. But by then it was already too late. In the stillness of space, human war machines waited unseen. In the silence of Earth, strategies were written that would break empires. And in the hearts of every human, a quiet fury burned brighter each day. The galaxy had mistaken this silence for fear, but soon they would understand. Humanity was not quiet because it was broken. Humanity was quiet because it was ready. The galaxy would look back on those months of silence with horror, for that was the calm before the storm. The first sign came without warning. At the edge of a quiet star system, a coalition fleet of 50 ships moved with confidence. Their mission was simple: push deeper into human space, capture another colony, and prove once again that humanity was weak. The alien commanders joked over their channels, mocking the silence of Earth. They believed victory was already theirs. Then the shadows moved. From behind the dark side of a moon, something massive emerged. At first, the fleet thought it was an asteroid. But then the engines came alive, blue fire roaring from colossal thrusters. A single warship appeared, larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its armor was black, sharp, and angular, drinking in the light of the stars. Along its surface, lines of energy glowed like veins of fire. The alien fleet panicked. Sensors screamed warnings. Weapons locked on the human ship, and in seconds the void filled with fire. Missiles, beams, and plasma bolts struck the hull, but the human ship did not flinch. The attacks burned against its armor like rain against stone. Then humanity answered. A single broadside lit up the darkness. Blinding lances of energy tore across space, cutting through alien ships as if they were paper. Entire cruisers split in half, their debris scattering into the void. In less than 1 minute, 10 ships were gone. The aliens tried to retreat, but the human ship was faster. Its weapons sharper, its defenses unbreakable. It was not just a ship. It was a message. Across the galaxy, reports began to flood in. Alien fleets vanishing, outposts destroyed. Human warships, massive, terrifying, unstoppable, appearing from the darkness, striking without warning and leaving nothing behind but wreckage. The silence had ended, and what followed was thunder. In the council chamber, the mood changed. The laughter was gone. The smug arrogance was gone. Fear now sat in every corner. Delegates whispered about the human fleet, about weapons no one understood, about armor that could not be broken. The warnings they had ignored now echoed louder than ever. Do not provoke us. But the coalition leaders refused to admit defeat. They rallied more fleets, gathering hundreds of ships, the largest armada the galaxy had seen in centuries. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the humans with numbers. They would crush this rebellion once and for all. The armada entered human space with pride, banners of war raised high. Yet waiting for them was silence once more. No resistance, no sign of human fleets, only the empty black of space. And then, the trap was sprung. From hidden stations, from cloaked positions, from the darkness itself, humanity struck. Waves of guided weapons ripped through the alien armada before it could even form its lines. Human warships emerged from the void, smaller than the colossal flagship, but still unlike anything seen before. They moved with impossible speed, their weapons tearing through shields as if they did not exist. Alien commanders screamed for order. Ships scattered, trying to regroup, But the humans gave them no chance. Every formation collapsed under relentless fire. Entire wings of ships vanished in white explosions. Within hours, what had been the galaxy's greatest armada became twisted wreckage drifting in the dark. The galaxy watched in horror. News spread faster than light. Humanity had crushed the invincible fleet. A species the galaxy once mocked, once dismissed as fragile and weak, had just shattered the pride of ancient empires, and humanity did not stop. One by one, coalition strongholds fell. Border worlds burned, fortresses crumbled. The humans advanced, with cold precision, destroying only what resisted, leaving behind silence and fear. They did not boast, they did not laugh. They simply marched forward, unstoppable like a force of nature. On one captured world, a human commander sent a message to the council. His voice was calm, almost quiet, but every word carried the weight of doom. You were warned. We asked for peace. You brought us war. Now you will see the cost. The galaxy trembled. The warnings were no longer echoes of the past. They were reality. Humanity had risen from silence, and in its fury, no empire was safe. The reckoning had begun. The galaxy had never seen silence like this. After the fall of the Coalition's great armada, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. News traveled faster than any fleet. Entire empires whispered in terror. Once, they had mocked the humans. Once, they had laughed at the Council's warnings. Now their laughter was gone, replaced by fear. Everywhere, people asked the same question: what will humanity do next? The answer came swiftly. Human fleets spread through the stars, striking not with wild rage, but with cold, exact precision. They did not waste fire. They did not destroy without purpose. They targeted command centers, supply depots, weapons factories. With each strike, the coalition grew weaker. Entire planets surrendered without a fight, their leaders begging for mercy before a single human ship even entered orbit. But mercy was rare. On Hallstrom, the first colony that had been taken and burned, the humans returned. They freed the survivors, but the alien occupiers were given no chance to flee. Every fortress was leveled. Every warship in orbit was turned to ash. The message was carved into the ruins. You were warned. The Galactic Council sat in dread. The same chamber that had once echoed with laughter was now heavy with silence. Delegates who had mocked humans before could no longer meet each other's eyes. Some demanded the Council intervene and beg for peace. Others whispered that it was already too late, that humanity would never forgive what was done, and they were right. On the world of Toran Prime, the capital of a coalition empire, the sky turned black as human warships appeared above the clouds. The alien leaders begged for negotiations. They sent desperate signals promising to withdraw from human space, promising reparations, promising anything. But the humans did not reply. Their silence was worse than words. Then the bombardment began. The night was torn apart by fire. Towers crumbled, fortresses exploded, fleets in orbit shattered in minutes. The streets filled with screams, but no one came to save them. In only 3 days, an empire that had lasted 10,000 years was gone, erased from the stars. And still the humans advanced. The coalition collapsed, its leaders killed or fleeing into hiding. Whole civilizations that had joined the raids against Earth were forced to kneel. Some offered their fleets to humanity as tribute. Others abandoned their own worlds and fled into the dark edges of the galaxy. Yet no matter how far they ran, they could not escape the shadow of what they had unleashed. For the first time, the galaxy saw what humanity truly was. They were not the fragile, reckless children of Earth. They were survivors of a death world, shaped by fire, born from struggle, carrying in their blood the memory of endless wars. They were patient. They were relentless. And when provoked, they were merciless. At last, the council called for a final meeting. In the chamber, trembling voices begged humanity to stop. They offered treaties, promises, anything to end the storm. And for the first time in months, a human delegate returned to the floor. He stood in silence for a long moment, his eyes scanning the chamber, just as he had done before. The same delegates who had once mocked him now sat frozen, unable to breathe under his gaze. Finally he spoke, his voice calm, steady and heavy with the weight of victory. "We warned you," he said. "We told you what would happen if you provoked us. You laughed. You mocked us. And now you see the truth. We are not weak. We are not fragile. We are human. And humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive." No one answered. No one dared. The delegate turned and walked away, leaving behind silence deeper than space itself. The council knew the galaxy would never be the same. Empires that had once stood for ages had been shattered in weeks. Species that had called themselves mighty were broken. And all because they ignored a simple warning. From that day on, no one dared provoke humanity again. Children grew up with stories of the reckoning, stories told in whispers about the humans who came from a small blue world and brought empires to their knees. Entire generations would remember the lesson written in fire across the stars. The price had been paid, and in the shadows of space, humanity returned to its silence, not out of weakness, but out of strength. The galaxy finally understood what that silence meant. It meant humanity was watching. It meant humanity was waiting. And if ever provoked again, the stars themselves would burn. The great chamber of the Galaxy Council was silent. Hundreds of alien delegates sat on their tall chairs, their eyes fixed on the center of the hall. Bright white light fell on a single figure standing there. It was a young human girl. Her hands were tied with glowing chains that burned against her skin. Her face showed fear. But behind her fear there was also a quiet strength. She had been accused of a crime she did not commit. The charge was simple. She had spoken against the Council. She had questioned their power. And for the Galaxy Council, that was enough. To them, one human life meant nothing. The Council leader, a tall alien with silver skin and hollow black eyes, spoke with a cold voice. "This human girl is guilty. She is a danger to the peace of the galaxy. Her sentence is death." A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. Some aliens clapped their hands, others simply stared without emotion. To them it was a normal day, another problem solved. But the girl lifted her head. Her voice, though weak, echoed through the hall. "You think killing me will silence humans? You are wrong. You will see what happens when Earth awakens." The hall fell into a deeper silence. No one had expected her to speak like this. A guard struck her to the ground, but her words still hung in the air. Even the coldest aliens shifted uneasily. Outside the chamber, news spread fast. Across the stars, people whispered of the human girl who stood before the Galaxy Council and spoke of Earth's awakening. Most laughed at the idea. Earth was weak, they said. Earth was small, backward, and powerless. But on Earth, her words were heard differently. The humans who watched the broadcast did not laugh. They felt rage. They felt grief. She was only one girl, but she had become a symbol. And in the deep shadows of Earth, in places hidden even from most of its people, something began to move. The Council believed Earth had no strength. The galaxy had always seen humans as fragile, emotional beings who could be controlled easily. But what they did not know was that Earth had been preparing for decades. In secret, beneath mountains, under oceans, and even in the far reaches of their solar system, humans had built something they never showed to the stars. It was called the Hidden Fleet. As the girl's life ended in the cold hands of alien justice, silence covered Earth. There was no public reply, no declaration of war. It was as if the planet itself was mourning. But beneath the silence, deep under the surface, great engines began to hum. Doors sealed for 100 years started to open. On the surface, people carried on with their lives. Cities moved, lights shined, children played. But in the underground command centers, generals and scientists stood in front of glowing screens, watching as ancient systems came online. They remembered the girl's last words. "You will see what happens when Earth awakens." The suspense grew like a storm in the distance. In the council chambers, the aliens dismissed the event. They thought they had destroyed a small rebellion before it could grow. They thought humanity was too weak to fight back. They thought the matter was closed. But in the dark, Earth was patient. Hidden hangars under polar ice opened slowly, revealing the sharp edges of massive starships covered in frost. Oceans split apart as colossal doors rose from the deep waters, and black steel giants emerged silent and unstoppable. On the moon's far side, bases that had been thought abandoned suddenly lit up with fire. Earth had not shown its hand for centuries. Now it was ready, and it was all because of one girl. Her story became more than her life. Her death was a spark that lit a fire across an entire planet. The galaxy had taken one human, thinking it would mean nothing. But it had awakened something they never imagined. The first signal was sent. It was short, only a few words, but it carried across every hidden base and secret fleet dock. It said, "Rise." The moment had come. Far away, alien patrol ships drifted near Earth's borders. Their scanners showed nothing unusual. To them, the planet looked quiet, harmless. They reported back to the Council. No activity. Earth is silent, but they were wrong. Behind the clouds of Earth, hidden just beyond sight, the shadows of enormous ships moved. Their engines pulsed with blue light, their weapons ready. Crews sat in silence, waiting for the order that would change history. The girl's last words still echoed in the hearts of her people, and the galaxy, unaware of what was about to come, would soon understand what it meant to awaken Earth. The storm had not begun yet, but everyone who looked to the stars felt something in the air, something heavy, something dangerous. The galaxy had made its greatest mistake. It had killed a human girl, and because of that, Earth's secret fleet was about to rise. Earth's silence. Before the storm, Earth did not speak. Days passed after the girl's execution, and the galaxy waited for a reply. Some alien leaders expected angry protests. Some expected desperate pleas for mercy, but none of these came. Earth remained quiet. The world spun on its axis, its blue oceans and green lands looking calm from space. To the Galaxy Council, this silence meant weakness. To humans, it meant something else. The silence was not weakness. It was mourning. It was grief. And inside that grief was something stronger than the Council could ever understand. Across Earth's cities, people continued with their daily lives. Trains still moved across shining rails. Markets still filled with voices and color. Children still laughed in the parks. On the surface, everything looked normal. But beneath the laughter, beneath the routines of ordinary life, people carried a weight in their hearts. They remembered the girl. They remembered how she stood in the chamber of the Council and spoke without fear. And in secret, they waited. In underground command bunkers, the silence was heavier. Generals met behind thick steel doors. Maps of stars glowed on massive screens. Silent men and women pointed at alien sectors, whispering names and numbers. They spoke in quiet tones because the world above must not know what was coming yet. In the Arctic, a vast ice sheet cracked open. The sound was like thunder rolling across frozen plains. From beneath, a metallic tower rose into the air. Its surface was black steel, shining with frost, its size so great that the wind itself screamed around it. At the base of the tower, hidden doors opened one by one and ships began to move. In the Pacific Ocean, the water shifted as if a monster moved below. Then, without warning, a circle of waves spread out as an enormous platform broke the surface. Water poured off its sides in waterfalls. On that platform, dozens of warships stood silent, their engines asleep but ready to breathe fire. On the far side of the moon, a base thought dead for centuries flickered with life. First came the lights, then the hum of energy flowing through cables as thick as trees. Then, deep inside its hangars, ships the size of cities powered up. The Council did not see any of this. Their scanners showed nothing but Earth's ordinary signals. To them, the planet looked small and harmless, just as it always had. Their arrogance blinded them. They did not know that humans had mastered the art of hiding, waiting, and planning. For almost 100 years, Earth had been building its secret fleet. It was born from fear of the galaxy, but also from hope. Humans knew that someday they would be tested. Someday the galaxy would no longer tolerate their independence. And so they built in silence, hiding their greatest weapons where no eyes could see. Now that silence was ending. The leaders of Earth gathered in a chamber buried miles below the capital. No sunlight reached this place. Only the glow of machines filled the darkness. At the center stood a single chair. The man who sat there was old, his hair white, his eyes tired, but his voice carried weight. He looked at the generals and scientists around him and spoke slowly. The galaxy believes we are broken. They believe we are powerless. They believe killing one child will silence us. but they have given us something stronger than all their fleets combined. They have given us a reason. The room remained still. No one dared interrupt. He raised his hand, and on the giant screen behind him, the image of the girl appeared. Her final words echoed in the chamber. "You will see what happens when Earth awakens." There was no need for more speeches. Every person in the room understood. The silence of Earth would not last much longer. Far above, alien patrols circled the solar system. Their ships scanned and watched, reporting every detail back to the Council. Yet they missed everything. They saw the oceans, but not the hidden platforms beneath. They saw the ice, but not the doors cut into its heart. They saw the moon, but not the living shadows moving on its dark side. Humans had mastered patience. They knew war was not won by loud words or empty threats. War was won by timing, by striking when the enemy least expected it. And so Earth waited, like a bowstring pulled tight, silent but ready to snap. The people of Earth kept their grief inside. They told stories of the girl in whispers, her courage becoming a flame passed from one heart to another. In schools, in factories, in quiet homes, her name was spoken. She was no longer just one human. She was the voice of all of them. The Council had killed her to silence humans. Instead, they had united them. From space, Earth looked calm, just another blue planet. But those who looked closer felt something strange. The silence was heavy, unnatural, like the quiet before a storm. In the shadows of space, Earth's hidden fleet continued to wake. Engines hummed, weapons armed. Lights pierced the darkness. One by one, ships rose from their slumber, their steel bodies trembling with power. The galaxy thought Earth was weak, but soon they would learn the truth. The silence would not last forever. It was only the silence before the storm. The galaxy believed Earth was still silent. Patrols reported the same message every day. No activity. No threat detected. To the Council, it was proof that humans were broken. They had lost one of their own. And now they had surrendered. But far from the Council chambers, on the edges of alien-controlled space, strange things began to happen. The first sign came to a patrol ship near the outer rim of the Sol system. Its crew of reptilian soldiers sat half asleep at their stations. The scanner showed empty space, only stars and dust. But then suddenly the screens filled with static. Red warning lights flashed across the control room. "Signal interference," shouted the captain, his scaled hand slamming the console. "Where is it coming from?" The crew tried to trace the disruption, but nothing appeared on their systems. It was as if the stars themselves were shifting. Then, for only a second, a shadow moved across their radar. Enormous, silent, and gone before they could lock onto it. They sent a report back to the Council. The reply came cold and simple. "Ignore it. Human tricks. Continue patrol." But the crew felt fear. Something had brushed against them in the darkness, something too large to be a simple trick. Days later, another patrol ship in a different sector vanished. Its last transmission was a scream of alarms followed by silence. Search parties arrived, but there was no wreckage, no survivors, no trace of battle, only the emptiness of space. The Council dismissed it again. Accident. Technical failure, they said. But whispers began to spread among alien fleets. Ships were disappearing near human borders. Then came the message. It was not a normal signal. It did not travel on open channels. It slid through the dark like a whisper, touching every listening post at once. No one knew how it was sent, but everyone who heard it froze. The message was only 4 words. "You killed one. We rise." The words were spoken in a human voice, calm but sharp as a blade. Panic began to creep into the ranks of alien soldiers. Captains ordered double patrols. Fleets circled closer to Earth, but the more they searched, the less they found. It was as if ghosts were moving through the stars, unseen and unstoppable. On Earth, the hidden fleet continued to wake. One by one, massive ships drifted out of their shelters, engines glowing like suns. Their designs were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Sleek, sharp, and built for war. Some carried weapons that could split moons. Others carried drones by the thousands, each one armed to strike with precision. But still, Earth did not speak. No broadcast, no official declaration of war, only silence, until the first strike came. It happened near the mining world of Cathar 9, a planet rich in resources controlled by the Council. Dozens of alien ships orbited above it, guarding the mines. They had no reason to expect danger. But then, without warning, the stars shifted. At first, it looked like a trick of the light, but the darkness moved, and from it, enormous human ships emerged. The alien commander shouted orders, but it was already too late. Beams of blue light cut through the void, slicing alien cruisers in half. Explosions lit up the sky like a storm of fire. Human ships moved with terrifying precision, striking and vanishing before the enemy could regroup. Within minutes, the fleet of Cathar 9 was destroyed. The planet's surface trembled as the human fleet's shadow passed overhead. Then, just as quickly as they had appeared, the human ships were gone. The Council received the news in shock. For centuries, humans had been seen as weak, barely able to travel beyond their own solar system. Yet here they were, unleashing weapons the galaxy had never witnessed. Still, the Council tried to hide the truth. They called it a pirate attack. They told their citizens not to fear. But soldiers knew better. They whispered the same thing across every barracks, every patrol ship, every war council. Humans have risen. More attacks followed. A supply convoy vanished near the star cluster of Vera. A council station exploded into dust without warning. Entire fleets were ambushed in deep space, destroyed by enemies they never even saw. And every time the same message echoed on hidden channels. You killed one. We rise, the fear spread. Even the bravest alien soldiers began to dread their patrols near Earth's borders. They said they could feel human eyes watching them from the dark. Some swore they saw shadows of warships drifting behind stars, only to vanish when scanners turned their way. In the council chamber, the leaders grew restless. Reports piled high on their desks, each one telling the same story. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity had prepared in silence. Humanity had built an armada that could rival the galaxy itself. The silver-skinned council leader who had sentenced the girl to death stood before the assembly once again. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed fear. We have made an error. We thought humans were prey. We did not see that they were hunters waiting for their moment. But it was too late. The first signs of vengeance had already begun. The galaxy had taken one human life, believing it would end resistance. Instead, it had awakened a storm that would sweep across the stars, and Earth was only getting started. The rise of the hidden fleet, the galaxy could no longer deny it. What began as whispers had become undeniable truth. Earth had risen. Patrols that once mocked humans now refused to fly near their borders. Alien traders avoided the Sol system like it was cursed. Even powerful war fleets spoke in hushed voices about shadows in space, about fire that came without warning. But no one outside Earth yet understood the true scale of what was coming. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, titanic hangars fully opened for the first time. The waters shook as ancient doors older than most living humans slid apart. From the darkness below, colossal warships ascended. Their hulls were black steel, layered with armor that could withstand the fire of suns. Their engines glowed blue as they cut through the sea, rising higher and higher until they burst free from the waves and thundered into the skies. Cities on the coast looked upward as storm clouds gathered. The people did not scream. They did not run. Instead, they watched in silence as their hidden protectors rose. Children pointed at the sky as massive ships, each the size of mountains, disappeared into the upper atmosphere. Their parents held their hands tighter, knowing history was unfolding above them. On the frozen plains of Antarctica, more doors broke open. Ice shattered like glass, falling into the sea as a fleet of carriers lifted into the air. Their sides dripped with frost, but their weapons burned with light. The moon became alive with fire. Hangars cut into its rock released swarms of smaller ships, darting into space like a storm of steel birds. Behind them came the giants, battle cruisers larger than cities, armed with weapons no alien eye had ever seen before. The hidden fleet was no longer hidden. On Earth, the silence ended. For the first time, human leaders broadcast a message not only to the Galaxy Council but to every world, every colony, every star system within reach. The broadcast was simple. A human woman appeared on the screen, her face calm, her eyes burning with unshaken will. Behind her, the shadows of enormous warships loomed. Her voice was clear. You killed a child. You thought it would break us. Instead, you have awakened what we have built in silence. For 100 years, we have prepared. We hid because we wished for peace. But now you will see what Earth truly is. We are not prey. We are not weak. We are humanity. And we are risen. The message ended. In the council chamber, chaos broke out. Alien delegates shouted at one another. Some demanded immediate war. Some screamed for surrender before Earth destroyed them all. Others sat in silence, their minds haunted by the truth. They had provoked something far greater than they understood. Meanwhile, Earth's fleet moved. 1,000 ships departed orbit, their engines roaring against the silence of space. Their formations were precise, disciplined, as if every movement had been practiced for generations. Smaller ships flew like blades, darting ahead to scout. Massive warships followed, their weapons glowing with blue fire. Every ship bore the mark of Earth, a circle of blue and white. With a single star in the center, the galaxy watched in awe. The first true battle came in the Heller system. The Council sent one of its largest fleets to block Earth's expansion. Over 400 alien ships stood ready, armed with the most advanced weapons they possessed. Their commanders were confident. Numbers were on their side. But when Earth's fleet arrived, the battle was over before it began. The human ships moved like predators. Their weapons did not fire randomly, but with perfect precision. Alien cruisers exploded one after another, each strike cutting through shields and armor like paper. Earth's fighters swarmed enemy vessels, tearing through them like fire in dry grass. The alien fleet tried to regroup, but every move was anticipated. It was as if humanity already knew their tactics. In less than 1 hour, 400 alien ships were destroyed. Not a single human vessel was lost. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, the Council was afraid. Their power, once unchallenged, now trembled under the weight of Earth's rise. But Earth did not celebrate. The fleet did not pause to cheer. Instead, it moved forward, deeper into space. On Earth itself, people stood taller. They knew they were no longer seen as weak. Their grief had turned into strength. The girl who had died at the hands of the Council had become the heart of their vengeance. Her name was spoken in every city, every ship, every home. She was no longer only a memory. She was the symbol of a world united. And still the fleet grew. From hidden bases on Mars, more ships emerged. From secret stations in the asteroid belt, swarms of drones launched into formation. From distant outposts beyond Pluto, massive dreadnoughts awakened, their hulls carrying weapons powerful enough to tear apart planets. The galaxy had thought Earth was only one small world. Now it saw the truth. Earth was an empire hidden in plain sight, an empire forged in silence, waiting for the moment to reveal itself. The moment had come. As the hidden fleet rose in its full strength, one thought spread across alien worlds like a shadow. The galaxy had killed a single human child, and in doing so, it had given birth to a storm that would cover the stars. The unforgettable strike. The galaxy trembled. For centuries, the Council had ruled without fear, its fleets crushing any resistance before it could grow. But now the stars told a different story. Human ships moved like shadows through the void, striking with precision and vanishing before alien eyes could follow. Systems once loyal to the Council whispered about rebellion. Worlds that had once mocked Earth now watched in silence, afraid of what would come next. The Council finally made its choice. It would not wait for humans to grow stronger. It would destroy Earth before the storm spread any further. They gathered the largest armada in galactic history. Over 1,000 warships, each one armed with the most advanced technology known to alien kind, were sent toward the Sol system. It was not just a fleet, it was a declaration. The Council would erase humanity once and for all. The armada entered the edge of human space with confidence. The alien commanders believed victory was already theirs. They told their soldiers that Earth would burn within hours. They promised their people that humanity's rise would end before it truly began. But they did not understand. Earth was waiting. As the alien fleet advanced, strange signals flickered across their systems. Communications failed. Navigation faltered. Sensors showed nothing but static. It was as if the stars themselves had turned against them. Then in the darkness ahead, lights appeared. One by one, massive ships emerged. Their black steel hulls glistened under distant suns. Their engines burned like blue fire. The hidden fleet had arrived. At the center of the formation was the flagship, larger than any ship the Council had ever built. Its hull carried scars from ancient construction. Its weapons glowed with power drawn from deep within the Earth itself. Across its bow, a single phrase was painted in white, "For her." The battle began with silence. No words were exchanged. No warnings were given. Only the deep hum of engines and the cold emptiness of space. Then, humanity struck. The first volley came like thunder. Beams of light brighter than suns cut through the alien front line, splitting cruisers into dust. Missiles streaked across the void, their warheads burning with enough force to shatter moons. Drones swarmed out of human carriers, moving with speed no alien craft could match. The alien armada responded with all its firepower. Thousands of weapons lit up the dark, filling space with storms of energy, but the humans did not falter. Their ships twisted and darted with impossible precision. Every strike countered, every formation broken. Alien commanders shouted in panic. Their ships fell one after another, torn apart by weapons they had never seen before. Entire squadrons vanished in blinding explosions. Their numbers, once their greatest strength, now worked against them as chaos spread through their ranks. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold on glowing screens. They saw their fleet move with the strength of a storm. They saw alien ships explode into fire. And they remembered the girl who had died at the hands of the Council. Her face appeared on banners, her name echoed through cities. She had become the heart of their vengeance, the voice that carried through every strike. The flagship pressed forward, leading the charge. Its weapons unleashed firestorms that ripped through alien battleships. Its shields absorbed the heaviest blows without faltering. Behind it, the fleet followed with relentless force. A wave of steel and light sweeping across the stars. Hours passed, but to the galaxy, it felt like only moments. By the time the fire faded, the armada of the Council was gone. Over 1,000 alien ships had been reduced to dust and wreckage. The humans had lost some vessels, but their fleet remained strong, their spirit unbroken. Silence returned to space. Only the wreckage of the Council's pride floated in the void. A graveyard of twisted metal and shattered ambition. The message was clear. Earth had struck, and the strike would never be forgotten. Across alien worlds, fear turned into certainty. The humans were no longer weak. They were no longer prey. They were hunters, stronger and more united than anyone had imagined. The Council tried to hide the truth, but it was impossible. Too many had seen the battle. Too many had heard the final human message, broadcast across every frequency as the alien armada fell. You killed one, now we rise forever. The galaxy understood. A single human life had been taken, but in return an empire had awakened. Earth's silence had become fury, and that fury now stretched across the stars. And as the wreckage of the Council's fleet drifted through the void, one thought spread across every corner of the galaxy. The humans had delivered their vengeance, and this was only the beginning.